Welcome to the Hanover Fair 2019 and welcome to Harting's Trade Fair stand. In this issue, we're talking about automation in electrical cabinet construction. And I've invited two experts to speak on this subject. I'd like to introduce our guests. Firstly, Karl-Heinz Kösters, Managing Director of Elrotech. And next to him, a host at the Harting stand, Andre Benecke, Director of Product Marketing at Harting. Gentlemen, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
One of the central topics here, as in previous years, is the subject of process optimization through automation, with cost-saving potential at all levels. And it doesn't stop at just electrical cabinet construction. In the meantime, it's become widely used across the entire industry. Mr. Kösters, which trends do you see in this area, and where can automation be implemented effectively?
Yes, you've hit the nail on the head. In the past, as you've already mentioned, we had inquiries around electrical cabinet construction. It wasn't always possible to achieve this because it's very complex and implementation in this area couldn't be done as envisioned. Fixed wiring is a very complex topic requiring many tools and an unbelievable number of different tasks that need to be carried out. Thanks to plug-in connectors, we're now in a completely different environment and can achieve this in a relatively simple way. It's no longer a complex task. Instead, we would perhaps class this as a slightly difficult or even a simple task. One where I don't need specialists to implement something, but rather where I can get a well-trained employee on site who can program a robot and who can then simply install the whole thing relatively easily.
Up until now, it's been more of a manufacturing matter. This is evident from what one hears, namely that it's relatively expensive and relatively complex. Now we see that possibilities exist even here. You're demonstrating this at the Hanover Fair. Where do you see the potential of these new technologies at Harting?
You're spot on again with this topic. Up until now, electrical cabinet cabling and wiring has required manual work to be carried out by specialized staff. The reason lies on the one hand in the complexity and on the other hand, the connectors which are used on electrical cabinets. Previously, their design meant that pre-wiring and pre-assembly of cable harnesses in the electrical cabinet were not possible. This is simply because the connectors seated in an electrical cabinet, typically as it relates to the contact carriers, had to be installed from the outside. This means that to assemble it, individual wire strands had to be pushed through the open panel-mounted housing and through the electrical cabinet wall. They were then inserted from the outside into the insulation body of the connector, connected, and then everything was pushed back fully and screwed in tight again. This means I have no option to use pre-assembled ready-made products such as cable harnesses on the electrical cabinet. It was only possible once there were new plug-in connectors that enabled rearward assembly of the insulation body. And now we have achieved precisely that. Based on feedback like what Mr. Köster was just saying about the necessity of automation and process optimization, we are now answering that call by coming out with completely new developments.
Mr. Kösters, what kind of inquiries do you get from your customers? You're the specialist on the topic of automation, and the inquiries that ultimately need to be implemented reach your desk. What topics are you currently dealing with?
The inquiries vary widely. In effect, we cover the entire range. Starts with simple things such as pick and place tasks, which we've been able to automate relatively easily for years. And then there's visualization, where robots are taught to see and use classic hand-eye coordination, which man is capable of, but robots are not. The robot is only a moving servant that can merely perform what it has been taught. Yet with new algorithms and new technologies, they are capable of much more than what was possible in the past. This is important because we can see that the trend in industry is going in the direction of small and medium-sized companies that have not thought about automation before and must jump on this trend now simply to remain competitive. Cost saving is definitely the focus. This is always really important. The second thing that is important is that you must ensure that your processes work. Process reliability is a huge topic. The third thing is the quality of the end products. With robotics, you can be sure that the connections or whatever you're doing are exactly as you pictured them. And ultimately, a huge factor is personnel. Often what happens is that personnel are not reduced. Instead, employees freed from doing simple activities can be deployed to other areas, or you have tasks where you simply need to use a robot.
Another aspect is certainly the quality. Robots create reproducibility in production. This means the quality can be set once and then reproduced frequently. Many companies are looking into this and don't feel bound to one location, even if it's the industrial site where, for example, the electrical cabinets are constructed. When I look at the competition, other suppliers outside of the Harting world are certainly working in this area too. How much of a competitive edge do you have here at present? And how do you see the competition regarding this topic?
Estimating how far ahead of the competition we really are is always difficult. Now and again, we do believe we are technologically ahead, both in terms of the European and the non-European competition. Yet, nevertheless, the entire market environment, the whole competitive environment, has already become very, very dynamic within the last few years. And it is also tremendously important for us as a quality manufacturer to stay ahead. That is why we invest so much into new developments, new ideas, and new solutions that come from talking with users, such as just now with Mr. Custers. In this way, we can learn exactly what the pain points in the application are, where we still need to try new development paths, offer new things that really help to optimize the process, and thereby generate the optimal solution for the customer with regard to quality, innovation, and costs.
I've placed myself here somewhat in the background and watched how the fair visitors are reacting to this topic. And you've set up the exhibit right here, albeit in miniature only, yet we can clearly see how it looks in reality. It does seem to be sparking the interest of people. Do you have the same impression?
The topic of automation and robotics interests many visitors at present. Many people simply have to engage with the topic because ultimately it helps to achieve competitive advantages that couldn't be achieved in any other way. I'm always happy to draw an analogy. Automation is like a train that's waiting in the station, and we have only a certain amount of time to catch this train. If you don't get on board and the competition is sitting inside, you still have time to catch the train while it slowly moves off. But once the train has left the station, then it really has left.
A beautiful image that we're communicating from here, the Hanover Fair 2019, to an interested industry. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to discuss this topic with you, one of the many topics that are on offer here at Harting this year. And thank you for watching. Until the next time, goodbye.
Fürs Zuschauen und bis zur nächsten Sendung. Tschüss.